Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're diving into something I think we could all relate to. Self-love.
Yeah, self-love. It's a big one.
It is, and we're going beyond the face masks and bubble baths, although those are great.
Oh, for sure. Can't go wrong with those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're really trying to go deeper here. We're going to be looking at guided meditation as a tool to really cultivate some self-love.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
so interesting to think about the actual techniques we can use, right? Like, how do we make this happen?
Totally. And we've got some really cool source material that gets into the nitty-gritty of specific meditation techniques to do just that.
Awesome.
Yeah. But before we get all into that, I'm curious, from your perspective, why is self-love so important? I mean, we toss that phrase around a lot, but should it be something we're really prioritizing?
You know, it's funny because I think a lot of people brush it off as kind of like a soft, fluffy concept, you know?
Right. Like, oh, self-love.
Yeah, exactly. But the research is actually really clear. When people cultivate self-love, we see lower stress, greater resilience when things get tough, even improvements in physical health. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, when you truly believe in your own worth as a person, it impacts how you approach everything. Your relationships, your work, how you handle challenges. It's huge.
It really is.
Oh.
So how does guided meditation come into play here? Our source material dives into some specific techniques, and the first one they talk about is affirmations. I have to admit, sometimes I'm a little skeptical of affirmations. Like, if I just say, I am worthy 100 times, is that really going to change anything?
I get it. It can feel a little too simplistic, right?
Totally.
But the science behind it is actually pretty cool. Our brains are incredibly adaptable. You've probably heard of neuroplasticity. It basically means our brains can rewire themselves based on our experiences and thoughts. So when we repeat affirmations, we're kind of retraining our brains to focus on those positive beliefs. And over time,
Yeah.
that can actually change those deeply ingrained thought patterns.
So it's like replacing that negative self-talk track that so many of us have on repeat with something more positive.
Exactly. And our source material goes on to highlight another super important technique, self-compassion.
Yes.
And this one, I think, is often misunderstood. People think, oh, self-compassion, being nice to myself. But it's so much deeper than that.
Absolutely. Like, it seems like there's a difference between self-compassion and something like self-esteem, for example.
Totally. Self-esteem is often tied to what we achieve, right? Or how we measure up to others. But self-compassion is about giving ourselves kindness and understanding, especially when we're struggling or when we mess up. You know, think about it. If a friend was feeling down because they made a mistake, you wouldn't be like, you're a failure. You'd offer support and understanding.
Oh, for sure.
Self-compassion is about showing ourselves that same empathy.
Yeah. I love that. And the source material really highlights how guided meditations focused on self-compassion can be so helpful in building that skill.
Absolutely.
Now, there's also mention of a technique that, I'll be honest, I haven't personally tried before, the body scan.
Yeah.
What exactly is that, and how does it connect back to this idea of self-love?
Okay, so a body scan is a mindfulness exercise. And basically what you do is you bring your attention to different parts of your body one by one. You might start with your toes, noticing any sensations, warmth, tingling, tightness, whatever's there. And you just observe those sensations without judgment.
Okay.
And you slowly move your attention up through your body, just noticing. It sounds really simple, but it can be incredibly powerful because when we become more aware of our physical sensations, we actually get better at regulating our emotions.
Wow, interesting. So it's like, by tuning into the body, we understand and manage our emotional world better.
Yes, exactly. We become more aware of how emotions show up in our bodies, which is a huge step in self-awareness, which of course leads to greater self-love.
That makes sense. And the source material also talks about integrating gratitude into guided meditations for self-love. But again, gratitude can sometimes feel like this abstract thing.
Yeah.
How do we make it tangible in practice?
I think you're right. Sometimes gratitude gets a bad rap for being this vague, fluffy concept. But in the context of these meditations, it's about consciously shifting our focus from what we lack to what we do have. And it can be simple, like appreciating your health, the people you love, a sunny day. When we cultivate gratitude, we start to counter those negative self-perceptions and really build a more positive, appreciative relationship with ourselves.
It's so true. And, it kind of ties into what I think is a really important point that the source emphasizes, this idea that self-love is a journey, not a destination.
Oh, I love that.
Right. It's not like we reach this perfect state of self-acceptance and then we're done. It's ongoing. For someone who's maybe just starting out with guided meditation for self-love, What advice would you offer?
Be patient.
Mm.
It's a process, it's not a race. Even just a few minutes each day can make a difference over time. So celebrate those small victories and remember, consistency is key.
Love that. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. Think about an affirmation that resonates with you. Something like, I am enough, or I'm worthy. What if you committed to saying that every single morning for a week? How do you think that small shift might impact other areas of your life? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on self-love and guided meditation.